What if self-love isn't what you think it is? What if it's not about standing in front of a mirror, repeating affirmations, or buying yourself something expensive to feel worthy? What if self-love, the kind Neville Goddard pointed to, is something deeper, something invisible, yet powerful enough to change your entire world? Most of us have been taught that self-love means pampering ourselves, avoiding toxic people, or setting boundaries. While those things have value, Neville taught something entirely different. He spoke about love from within, not as an emotion, but as a state of awareness, a shift in identity, not loving yourself as a separate person, but recognizing that what you are is already complete. You see, self-love isn't vanity. It's not indulgence. It's not about putting yourself on a pedestal and expecting the world to do the same. And it's definitely not the toxic version of self-obsession we often see online. Neville's message was much quieter, much more powerful. He taught that the world is yourself pushed out, and the way you treat yourself internally will reflect in the life you see outside. Imagine this: you go through your day and everything feels hard. People ignore you. Opportunities pass you by. You feel like you're being overlooked. But then one day, something inside you changes. You begin to speak to yourself kindly. You begin to stop believing in your limitations. You stop rehearsing the worst and start assuming the best. You don't see yourself as broken anymore, but as someone whole, deserving, and already chosen. Suddenly, people treat you differently. Doors begin to open. Why? Because your concept of self changed. And when that happens, your entire world changes with it. In Neville's teachings, this is the heart of transformation. He didn't tell people to chase results. He told them to change their inner state. He didn't say to wait for the world to approve you before you approved of yourself. He said to live from the state of the wish fulfilled, and that wish begins with you. Not many people talk about this, but Neville rarely used the phrase self-love. Instead, he spoke of assuming the identity of the person you desire to be. And in that assumption, there is no lack, there is no shame, no hesitation, only certainty. And that certainty, that quiet knowing, is what self-love actually looks like in Neville's world. It's not a feeling you chase, it's a truth you step into. He taught that imagination is God, that your inner conversations are more important than your outer circumstances. Think about that for a moment. How do you speak to yourself when no one is watching? Do you criticize, doubt, or do you affirm that you are already enough? Here's something you might not know. Neville said, the drama of life is psychological, which means if you're waiting for love to come from outside, you'll wait forever. But if you begin to feel it now internally, sincerely, it has no choice but to reflect back to you. This is the unseen key that most people miss. So in this video, we're going to explore what it truly means to love yourself from within. You'll learn how to shift your self-concept, how to change your internal conversations, and how to assume the identity of someone who is already chosen, already worthy, already becoming. You'll also learn why most people struggle with self-love. Not because they're flawed, but because they keep identifying with a version of themselves that no longer exists. Neville would say, let the old man die. That means stop returning to your past self. Stop dragging your doubts into the present. Stop assuming your past limitations have anything to do with your future. You'll discover how to use your imagination the way Neville taught, not just to visualize something out there, but to feel it as real in here. That's where change begins. Not when things shift around you, but when something shifts inside you. So why should you stay till the end? Because this message could change the way you see yourself forever. And when you change how you see yourself, the world will mirror it back to you. You won't need to chase validation. You won't need to fix what's not broken. You'll return to something deeper, a stillness, a wholeness, a quiet power that has always lived in you, even when you didn't notice. And that is the kind of self-love Neville Goddard taught. So if you're ready to stop seeking and start remembering who you truly are, you're in the right place. Welcome to Ignis Mindset, where we bring you the most powerful ideas from Neville Goddard's work in simple, grounded language that makes sense. If this speaks to you, subscribe now and let's begin this journey together. Before we talk about the deeper layers of self-love, let's explore a powerful truth from Neville. Change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. This isn't a slogan, it's a fact. When you shift how you see yourself, everything around you begins to shift too. That shift starts from the place you're standing, inside. Think about how you describe yourself. Maybe you feel unworthy. Maybe you doubt your abilities. Those thoughts are not harmless. They're seeds planted in your consciousness, and your consciousness grows them into reality. As Neville emphasized, you live from your inner self-concept, the story you believe about yourself, and that story generates the world you experience. If your self-concept is rooted in lack, fear, or limitation, your life reflects that. You'll meet people who reinforce your doubts, obstacles will seem to multiply, and every day can feel like a reflection of your inner disapproval. But imagine if you redefined that concept. If you decided, I am already deserving, successful, loved. Suddenly your world begins to mirror that shift. Doors open, opportunities appear, relationships improve. All because you changed you first. Now let's step even deeper. Neville taught that self-love goes beyond a concept. It taps into something you already are. Love itself. He said you aren't separate. You are consciousness. And God is love. I'm not quoting from a textbook fluff piece. I'm pointing to a profound spiritual insight. At your core, you are not an isolated self struggling in time. You are a manifest form of universal love. Imagine that all this time, you've mistaken your temporary states, your anxiety, your failure, your loneliness for who you truly are. But those states are just clothes consciousness wears. You might feel sad today, joyful tomorrow, confident the next day. That's the nature of states. None of them defines your core. The moment you identify with your highest self, your underlying consciousness as love, you step into a new reality. Now self-love becomes natural, not forced, not superficial. It becomes your foundation. You don't need to affirm I am worthy because you know you already are. Here's where the transformation begins. When you realize you are not the story, you are the love behind the story. In that recognition, your inner voice softens. Doubts lose power. Inner criticism fades. Love becomes your primary way of being. Let's tie this back. When Neville said, change your conception of yourself, he meant uproot the false identity that's limiting you. Replace it with the recognition that you are love embodied. When you do that, your self-concept no longer supports lack. It supports freedom. And what you assume, you become. That's the shift Neville invited everyone to make. People often ask, is this just spiritual fluff? It's not. It's practical. When you live from a grounded identity as love, you stop chasing. You stop needing external praise. You stop seeking things because you're already content. That contentment changes everything. Your choices, your energy, your relationships, even your health. Here's a real-world illustration. Someone who feels insignificant often naturally shrinks in social settings. They speak quietly. They avoid eye contact. They don't share their ideas. That behavior invites neglect. Their reality confirms their belief of unworthiness. Now, after a shift in self-concept, one where they embrace their worth, their presence changes. They hold their head high. They speak with confidence. They expect respect. The world responds accordingly. This isn't about arrogance. It's about living from truth. And truth, Neville taught, is rooted in your awareness. I am. Not I was, not I will be, but I am. That phrase, I am, is not empty. It's the motion of consciousness, defining itself. You define who you are now. Not later, not someday. Now, that's the doorway to self-love. It's not earning it. It's remembering you were born into it. Born into identity as love. When you take back that identity, everything inside and outside begins to rearrange. That is why Neville emphasized imagination and your inner dialogue as the keys to changing the world. Because your imagination supplies the feeling that embodies your new self, and your inner dialogue sustains it long enough for your subconscious to adopt it. That's how reality changes. In this space, self-love is no longer a practice. It's a natural expression of your existence. It's not you trying to feel love. It's your awareness resonating with itself. It's like finding your finger has always been attached to your hand. You don't need to do affirmations for that. You just are connected. Let's put it simply. Your self-concept builds reality. That self-concept is based on the image you nurture in your mind through imagination, inner speech, focus, and belief. When that image shifts toward love, healing, wholeness, you begin to live from that identity. And as Neville said, once you change that image, your world changes automatically. Now you're not just learning, you're becoming. Your life begins to unfold as proof of your inner shift. The conversation you have with yourself when no one else is listening becomes your life. And that conversation starts with one truth. You are love. Once you accept that, everything else follows. Love isn't about your current flaws. It's about recognizing the divine self you truly are. In Neville's terms, our states, anxiety, doubt, excitement, joy are temporary. They come and go like passing weather. They don't define you. You're not stuck in any one of them. Good. Imagine waking up feeling insecure. That's a state. But as the day unfolds, you might feel inspired, capable, even at peace. That too is a state. None of these defines who you are at your core. This is Neville's essential distinction. States are temporary. Self is real. Consciousness is constant. It watches. It remains steady regardless of the moods or feelings. Neville taught that when you identify with those shifting feelings, you remain bound by them. You live in their frame. Yet your true self is silent, watching, loving, unchanged by passing storms. Realizing this opens you to a deeper self-love, not tied to conditions or outcomes, but grounded in the stillness behind your every thought. This shift from identity with how you feel to identity with the witness, the divine, transforms everything. On Reddit, someone captured this insight simply but powerfully. Falling in love with yourself is the cheat code to changing your reality. Reddit. They called it a cheat code because once you fall in love with yourself, you no longer chase change. Change begins to chase you. Your outer world rearranges itself to match the love you hold for yourself. Here's what Neville and many students discovered. When you love your temporary self, your moods, circumstances, you're at their mercy. But when you love the being behind the moods, the divine self, you live from wholeness. On freeinville.com, someone explained how this foundation transforms both inner and outer life. They wrote about the essential shift the moment you realize you are not your state, but the state that observes all states. It's in that moment when you remain faceless, formless, and aware that you no longer need to cling to external validation or self-judgment. That state of being self-aware, self-loving, stable is the birth of true self-love. It's not about feeling good all the time. It's about recognizing you are more than any feeling you might have. That shift changes your inner world and inevitably your outer world too. When you love yourself at that deeper level, everything around you aligns. This is the cheating, but natural shortcut Neville taught. Align with your divine self, not your fluctuating states. As you walk through your day, remember, feeling sad? That's a passing cloud. Feeling joyful? That's sunshine. Neither defines you, but the sky beneath those clouds and sun, the clear awareness, is your true identity. And when you anchor there, self-love becomes automatic. It's not earned, it's remembered. and the reality you live begins to reflect that truth. Love doesn't arrive because you change your outer circumstances. It emerges the moment you accept yourself exactly as you are. Neville Goddard understood this paradox deeply. The curious paradox is when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change. Those words aren't from Neville himself, but from the psychologist Carl Rogers. Yet Neville echoed the same principle again and again. Real transformation begins not with resistance, but with acceptance. ScarlettRoseWest.com. When you resist what is your current self, your mistakes, your flaws, you build a wall inside yourself. That resistance becomes a prison. You're in conflict with your own experience, and inner tension grows. What Neville pointed to is that this tension creates a misalignment. Change doesn't happen from a place of struggle. It happens from alignment. Picture this. You feel frustrated and impatient because you haven't achieved a goal. You push yourself with harsh words. I'm not good enough. I'm failing. That voice of judgment keeps you locked in the same place. Your efforts scatter. You feel blocked. And what you resist persists. Now imagine something different. You notice the frustration. You see it. You don't fight it. You don't shame it. You don't pretend it's not there. You say to yourself internally, I'm feeling frustrated right now. That's okay. In that moment, you don't have to abandon the feeling, but you stop resisting it. Something shifts. When you accept where you are, the pressure you've been applying to yourself eases. That easing opens space for clarity, creativity, and growth. Neville taught this without calling it self-help jargon. He said that acceptance is essential to changing your consciousness. By accepting yourself right now, you remove the friction. And without friction, creativity flows. Without friction, deep inner work can happen. Resistance dissolves, and healing begins. You don't need to fight the feeling. You just need to watch it, accept it, and redirect your attention to who you wish to be. Neville would often say the world is a reflection of your inner state, but he didn't mean only your inner beliefs. He meant the tension within beliefs, the resistance behind desires. That tension blocks the flow. Acceptance clears the channel. That's why that paradox he pointed to is so important. And this leads straight to love, because once you accept yourself, and that includes your mistakes, your fatigue, your self-doubt, you free incredible energy. That energy is love coming home. It is your innate love for yourself, returning. It's not a romantic idea. It's your soul lighting up. It is the realization that you deserve to be loved, flaws and all. This acceptance sparking transformation doesn't remain inside you. It ripples outward. Your relationships become more authentic. Inspiration returns. When you're no longer beating yourself up, you're more compassionate and patient with others. You're not waiting for perfection. You're allowing what is. In that space, love flows. Neville could have said self-acceptance is a spiritual practice, and in truth it is. It's the refusal to reject the parts of yourself that God already accepts. As posted on ScarlettRoseWest.com, when you accept yourself fully, you dissolve the resistance that keeps you stuck. ScarlettRoseWest.com. Now imagine combining this acceptance with something even more powerful. Neville taught that imagination is God, not metaphorically, but literally. Your imagination is the creative power behind the universe. It's the divine faculty within you, the force that shapes reality. So when you accept yourself, you align with this creative force. You stop resisting a part of what is in. You begin using your imagination in full alignment. If imagination is the divine, and acceptance is your return to divinity, then what could possibly hold you back? To understand this, consider the words found on IamLove.q and other Neville-centered sources. Imagination is God. This means every time you imagine, you are using a divine tool. When you imagine lovingly, envisioning yourself as whole, respected, abundant, you are nurturing divinity within. You are regaining contact with your own source. When acceptance and imagination come together, something remarkable happens. You don't just change yourself, you transform your reality. Accept your frustration, exhaustion, lack. Then imagine yourself fully at peace, fully fulfilled, fully loved. You're not pretending, you're realigning. You're saying, I accept where I am, and I invite a deeper reality in. This is not magic tricks or wishful thinking. It's consistent alignment of thought, feeling, and imagination. Neville called it living from the end, the act where imagination and feeling become one. You imagine feeling loved, you feel loved internally. You accept that you are loved now. That convergence is powerful. That is self-love. Remember the Reddit insight. Falling in love with yourself is the cheat code to changing your reality. This cheat code isn't about shortcuts. It's about noticing the root of things. When you love yourself, you accept. You use imagination, and you collapse resistance. Those are the ingredients that change everything, inner and outer. When self-love is built on acceptance and imagination, the world aligns. You don't force change anymore. People respond differently to you because you changed. The energy you hold becomes your signature, and reality organizes itself around that signature. Neville emphasized that our imagination is the creative narrator of our lives. But if that narrator is fueled by judgment and resistance, the story remains stagnant. When acceptance steps in, the narrator changes tone. When imagination steps in, the narrative rewrites itself. This doesn't mean your challenges vanish. But when change comes from self-love, grounded and imaginatively aligned, you don't resist the challenges. You work through them with presence, peace, and power. That's transformation. In that sense, self-love isn't just emotional, it's metaphysical. It's the harmony between your acceptance of what is and your vision of what can be. It bridges reality and the imaginative realm. It bridges your present and your fulfilled future. And that is the core of Neville Goddard's teaching, not a fluffy self-help tactic, a deep inner architecture for life, a pathway rooted in accepting where you are, using imagination as divine power, and living from the end. You don't need approval from anyone else. You just need to accept yourself now. Imagine yourself as you wish to be, and remain faithful in the feeling of it. That combination, acceptance plus imagination, is the engine of transformation. That is how self-love not only transforms your inner world, it renews your outer world too. The words you speak to yourself every day shape the reality you live in more than you might realize. Neville Goddard taught that the world outside is a mirror reflecting your inner conversations. This means your mental diet, the thoughts and words you consistently feed yourself, plays a vital role in shaping your experiences. If your inner talk is harsh, critical, or dismissive, that negativity creates a vibration that attracts similar experiences. But if you choose kindness in your self-talk, treating yourself with the same compassion and gentleness you would offer to a child or a close friend, your outer world begins to change. Imagine the difference it makes when you stop belittling yourself for mistakes and instead say, I am learning, I am growing, I deserve kindness. Those words soften your inner landscape and open up space for better feelings and better results. Neville emphasized that the way you talk to yourself is a foundational part of your self-concept. Your self-concept is the I am statement you carry within. It's not just about what you do or have, but how you see yourself and how you narrate your own story. If your inner dialogue reflects doubt or lack, you signal to yourself that you are less than you truly are. To change this, Neville taught a powerful idea: assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This means living and speaking as if you already are the person you desire to be. If you want confidence, act as if you already have it. If you want success, speak and think as if success is your natural state. Neville called this being the prize. You don't wait to become worthy. You assume worthiness now. You live from that self-concept constantly. This isn't about pretending or faking. It's about becoming aware that the mind is creative and that your inner conversations guide your reality. When you act as if you already embody what you want, you change the frequency of your thoughts and feelings. Your outer world begins to align because you have shifted the inner cause. Speaking kindly to yourself and acting as if you are the prize means refusing to buy into limiting beliefs. It means rejecting the false stories that say you aren't enough or don't deserve good things. It means rewriting the script you tell yourself every day. This rewrite builds a new foundation, a foundation of love, respect, and confidence. Neville's teaching points to a simple truth. The story you tell yourself shapes the world you live in. When that story is full of kindness and assumption of your own value, you begin to attract opportunities, relationships, and experiences that match that story. You become magnetic to your desires, not because of luck, but because your inner talk and outer actions are in harmony. So every time you catch yourself thinking harsh thoughts or speaking critical words, pause and shift. Replace those words with kindness and encouragement. Speak to yourself like a beloved friend. Tell yourself you are worthy, capable, and deserving of love and success. Live from the assumption that you are already the prize. Let your self-concept be your guiding light. When your inner talk is positive, patient, and kind, your outer reality follows. You create a life that reflects the love and respect you cultivate within. This inner transformation isn't just mental, it's spiritual and emotional too. It changes how you feel, how you act, and how you attract life's blessings. Neville's insight is that your imagination and inner speech are the keys to unlocking your highest potential. When you master your inner talk, you master your outer world. Remember, the words you choose to say to yourself every day are far more powerful than you might realize. They don't just affect your mood or your confidence. They shape the entire reality you experience. When you commit to speaking with kindness, patience, and love toward yourself, you are laying down the foundation for a life filled with respect, success, and genuine happiness. Neville Goddard's teachings make this crystal clear. Your inner dialogue is the blueprint for your outer world. You hold the power to rewrite the story you live by, changing the way you talk to yourself. Acting as if you are already the person you want to be, living as if you are already worthy and whole, is not about pretending. It is about aligning your inner self-concept with your highest vision. This shift rewires your mind and your feelings, allowing your external reality to follow naturally. You become the prize simply by recognizing your inherent value and expressing it consistently through your thoughts and words. So take this wisdom to heart. Start today to monitor and transform your inner talk. Treat yourself with the same kindness and encouragement you would offer to someone you deeply care about. Remember that self-love is not a destination, but a practice, a daily choice that changes everything. If this message has inspired or helped you, please take a moment to like this video. Your support helps us bring more valuable insights to everyone seeking personal growth and transformation. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so please share your experiences or questions in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay connected with powerful teachings like these. Thank you so much for watching, and we look forward to sharing more life-changing content with you soon.